the legend began as the former employee. My name is Marcus Webb, and I worked for 17 years as a night maintenance manager at Walmart number 4739 in Ocala, Florida. What I'm about to tell you isn't in any official records. It's not in any corporate files. And if you search for aisle 7 on the store maps, you won't find anything. Because officially aisle 7 never existed. It all started in March 2023, when I decided to break my silence on an obscure Urban Explorer forum. I had retired 6 months earlier, and the weight of that secret was killing me inside. I posted just one sentence. Worked 17 years at the Ocala Walmart. There's an aisle that's not on the maps. I can prove it. Within 20 minutes, my inbox exploded. The conspiracy theory. Before I continue, you need to understand something. The theory of ghost spaces in big retail stores isn't new. Since the 2000s, internet users have shared stories about hidden aisles, inexplicable storage rooms, and dead zones in 24-hour stores. The most famous? The Target case in Minneapolis, where employees swore there was a storage room that changed locations. Or the Home Depot in Ohio, with an underground depot that, according to the blueprints, shouldn't exist. But aisle 7 at Walmart number 4739 was different. Because people had disappeared there. The unreported disappearances. In 1987, an employee named Linda Kowalski left to organize stock during her night shift and never came back. Police investigated for weeks. Nothing. No body, no clues, no evidence that she had even left the store. The case was filed as voluntary job abandonment. In 1994 it happened again. This time it was a department manager named Robert Chin. Cameras showed him entering the stock area at 11:47 p.m. At 11:52 p.m. he simply didn't exist anymore. The cameras never caught him leaving. And in 2009, an elderly customer asked an employee for help finding something in the back aisle. They were seen together on security cameras walking toward the back of the store. Neither of them were ever seen again. The corporation paid silent settlements to the families. The files were sealed. And aisle 7 was officially removed from all store maps in 2011. But it was still there. I knew because it was my job to do maintenance in that area once a month. The group. 3 people responded to my post seriously enough for me to consider them. Dakota Rivers, 28 years old, photographer specializing in abandoned urban spaces. She had documented deactivated psychiatric hospitals, empty amusement parks, and forgotten tunnels. Nothing scared her. Tommy Vega, 34 years old, electronics technician and conspiracy theory enthusiast. He had equipment, night vision cameras, audio recorders, EMF meters, electromagnetic field, everything you'd see on a cheap paranormal show. Sarah Mitchell, 25 years old, investigative journalism student. She wanted the real story. She wanted to know what the corporation was hiding. We scheduled it for a Tuesday, July 11, 2023, at 2:30 a.m. The deadest time in the store. The access. Walmart number 4739 never closed. But there were only 2 employees working after 2 a.m., a cashier and a security guard who spent 90% of his time watching videos on his phone. I still had my employee badge. Technically inactive, but the back access system had a glitch I knew well. If you swiped the badge 3 times in a row within 5 seconds, it would unlock any door, even deactivated badges. We entered through the loading dock door at 2:47 a.m. The store was eerily quiet. That annoying ambient music, an instrumental version of Don't Stop Believin', echoed through the empty aisles. The fluorescent lights buzzed with that frequency that gives you a headache. Tommy already had his night vision camera on, recording everything. Sarah was frantically taking notes in her notebook. Coda was taking photos every 5 steps, capturing the sterile strangeness of that place at 3 a.m. "Where's aisle 7? Sarah whispered. "In the back," I replied. "Beyond the main stock depot. There's a door that looks like an emergency exit, but it's not." We walked for 10 minutes through stock corridors, metal shelves going up to the ceiling, stacked boxes, the smell of cardboard and plastic. Then we went through another door. And then there it was. An aisle that shouldn't exist. The architectural anomaly. The first strange thing? The width. American supermarket aisles follow a standard of 12 feet. It's regulation. It allows 2 shopping carts to pass each other comfortably. Aisle 7 was at most 8 feet wide. Narrow. Claustrophobic. The second thing? The lighting. While the rest of the store used modern white LEDs, aisle 7 still had those old fluorescent bulbs, the ones that flicker and emit a low buzz. And half of them were burned out. "What the hell is this?" Tommy muttered, his EMF meter starting to beep softly. "This is it," I said. "Aisle 7. The sign was there, hanging crooked, a hand-painted 7, half-faded as if someone had tried to remove it with solvent but gave up halfway through. The aisle, uncomfortable visuals the atmosphere. The air was different in there. Colder. Denser. As if we were on a level below the rest of the store, even though the floor seemed flat. The shelves were empty, but with that thick dust that only accumulates after years without cleaning. Sarah ran her finger along a shelf and showed it to Tommy's camera. The dust layer was at least half an inch thick. You said you did maintenance here once a month, Dakota confronted me, frowning. I did, I replied. But I never cleaned. I just checked if the lights still worked and if anyone was here. If anyone was here? Sarah stared at me. What kind of maintenance is that? I didn't answer. I just kept walking. The ambient music was still playing, but it was wrong. Distorted. As if someone had slowed down the tape. I recognized the melody, What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong, but sounding like a funeral lament. I see trees of green, red roses too. Except the words were stretched. Sinister. Tommy was filming everything, his face illuminated by the green glow of the night vision screen. The EMF meter is going crazy. There's something here emitting an absurdly strong electromagnetic field. The impossible objects. In the middle of the aisle we started finding things. First, a shopping cart. Normal, except it was completely rusted as if it had been left in the rain for decades. Impossible in an indoor environment. Then products. But products that weren't sold anymore. A can of Tab soda, discontinued in the 90s. A cereal box with a cartoon character that hadn't been on TV since 1985. A TV Guide magazine from 1989 with the cast of Cheers on the cover. This is impossible, Sarah whispered, picking up the magazine. It wasn't yellowed or deteriorated. It looked new. As if it had been placed there yesterday. Coda was photographing everything, her hands shaking slightly. Marcus, how long has this stuff been here? I don't know, I admitted. Every time I came here for maintenance there was something new. Something that shouldn't be here. Tommy stopped abruptly, his EMF meter screaming now. Guys, look at this. He was pointing to the floor. There were footprints in the dust. Fresh footprints. Leading deeper into the aisle. But we were the only ones who had entered. The recordings. At the end of the aisle we found a door. Old metal with peeling green paint. No sign, no label. Just a door that shouldn't be there. The bizarre desire were going deeper. But Sarah wasn't listening. She was staring at something on the wall behind the table. There's another door. Sarah, no, I said firmly. We leave now. Marcus, we came here for the truth. This is the truth. She was already walking toward it. This door was different. Newer. It had a keypad lock, but the screen was cracked and flickering. Tommy tried his EMF meter near it and the device simply shut off. That's not good, he muttered. Dakota, ever the brave one, tried the handle anyway. It opened. What we saw on the other side defied logic. It was another aisle. But this one was longer. Much longer. The fluorescent lights stretched into the distance, getting dimmer and dimmer until they disappeared into darkness. The shelves on both sides were fully stocked. But the products were wrong. Brands that didn't exist. Packaging designs that looked almost right but were just slightly off. A box of corn Frosties instead of Frosted Flakes. A bottle of Coca-Cola instead of Coca-Cola. Chips labeled Lay's, but with a logo that was backwards. This is like knockoff reality, Tommy said, his voice barely above a whisper. And then we saw them. Shopping carts. Dozens of them. Abandoned throughout the aisle, some tipped over, some standing upright. And inside them. Personal items. A purse. A wallet. A child stuffed animal. A work badge. Dakota picked up the badge. Linda Kowalski. Employee 4731. Sarah grabbed the purse, opened it. ID says Margaret O'Brien. This woman. She was reported missing in 2009. She's the elderly customer from the security footage. How many people? Coda asked quietly. I counted the carts. 13. There are 13 carts here. But only 3 people were officially reported missing, Sarah said. Officially, I repeated. The wall of names. At what should have been the end of the aisle, but somehow wasn't, we found something that made my blood run cold. Someone had written on the wall. Not with spray paint or marker, but scratched into the drywall itself as if with fingernails. Names. Dozens of names. Some with dates next to them. Linda Kowalski, 1987. Robert Chin, 1994. Margaret O'Brien, 2009. And below those more names. Names without dates. Some of the writing was fresh. Recent. David Martinez, Ashley Thompson, Carlos Rivera. These people. Dakota's voice cracked. These people were never reported missing. Because no one knew they came here, I said. Night shift workers. Homeless people who came in to get warm. People who wouldn't be immediately missed. Tommy was filming the wall when his camera caught something. Movement. At the end of the aisle, where the lights faded into darkness, something moved. We all saw it at the same time. A figure. Tall, impossibly tall, maybe 7 or 8 feet. But the proportions were wrong. The arms too long. The head too small. It stood completely still just at the edge of the light. Is that? Sarah couldn't finish the sentence. The figure took a step forward. Then another. Moving in that jerky way like frames of video had been removed. One moment it was 50 feet away. Then 30. Then 10. We could see it more clearly now. It wore a Walmart vest. The old style from the 80s. Yellow with blue trim. But the vest was torn and stained. And underneath, there was no body. Just shadow. Dense, moving shadow that vaguely suggested a human shape. Its face, if you could call it that, was a blur. Like someone had smudged a photograph. But there were eyes. 2 pinpoints of light that didn't reflect anything, just absorbed. And it was staring directly at us. Run! I screamed. We bolted. Back through the door, through the small room, into the main part of aisle 7. Behind us we could hear it. Not footsteps. Something worse. A sound like static electricity, like reality itself tearing. Tommy dropped his camera. Sarah lost her notebook. Dakota kept running, tears streaming down her face. The lights were going out behind us as we ran, darkness chasing us, swallowing the aisle section by section. I could feel it behind me. Cold. So impossibly cold that my breath came out in frozen clouds. My legs were burning but I couldn't stop. If I stopped, I knew I would end up like Linda Kowalski. Like Robert Chin. Like all those names on the wall. We burst through the door back into the main stock area. I slammed it shut behind us and the 4 of us held it closed with our combined weight. Something hit the door from the other side. Once. Twice. Then, nothing. We waited there, pressed against that door for 5 minutes that felt like 5 hours. Finally, carefully, I cracked it open. The aisle was empty. Normal. Just a regular stock corridor with empty shelves and too much dust. Aisle 7 looked like it had always looked. Abandoned. Forgotten. Ordinary. But we knew better now. The escape. We ran through the store in silence. Past the empty aisles, past the sleeping cashier, past the security guard who never even looked up from his phone. We made it to Dakota's car in the parking lot as the first hints of dawn touched the sky. None of us spoke during the drive. Tommy's hands were shaking so badly he couldn't hold his phone. Sarah was crying quietly in the back seat. Dakota just stared straight ahead, driving on autopilot. I was the one who finally broke the silence. No one can know about this. What? Sarah turned to me. Marcus, we have to report this. Those people, those missing people dash. Report what? I snapped. That we broke into a Walmart and found a magic aisle that traps people? That there's a shadow monster in the stockroom? Who's going to believe that? We have evidence, Tommy said weakly. The recordings. The photos. Check your equipment, I told him. He did. His face went pale. It's all gone. Every file. Everything we recorded. It's just static. Dakota checked her camera. Same thing. Every photo she'd taken in aisle 7 was corrupted. Just gray static. How? Sarah whispered. I didn't answer because I didn't have an answer. What remained? We went our separate ways that morning. I told them to forget about it, to move on with their lives, to pretend it never happened. But it's not that easy, is it? Tommy started having nightmares. He told me he dreamed of walking through endless aisles, searching for an exit that didn't exist. He quit his job and moved to another state. Sarah gave up journalism. Last I heard, she was working at a coffee shop in Seattle, refusing to talk about what happened. Dakota stopped taking photos altogether. She said every time she looked through a camera lens she saw it. That figure. Standing just out of frame. And me? I can't shop at Walmart anymore. Any Walmart. Because sometimes in the corner of my eye, I see an aisle that shouldn't be there. An aisle marked with a crooked, hand-painted number 7. The evidence that survived. But here's the thing, we're not crazy. And I can prove it. Before we ran, before the chaos, Sarah had grabbed something from that wall of names. She didn't realize it until we were back in the car. A piece of paper, yellowed with age, tucked into a crack in the drywall. It was a memo. Internal Walmart corporate memo, dated August 15, 1986. 2. Store management number 4739 from Regional Director Re, Aisle 7 closure. Effective immediately, Aisle 7 is to be removed from all store maps and public access restricted. Following the incident with storage area collapse and subsequent investigation, this area is deemed structurally unstable. Do not enter. Do not discuss with customers or media. All inquiries should be directed to corporate legal. Structural collapse. That was their cover story. But the memo was dated 1986, a year before Linda Kowalski disappeared. They knew something was wrong with that space before anyone vanished. They knew and they said nothing. The mystery continues. I've spent months researching since that night, and I've found something disturbing. Walmart number 4739 in Ocala isn't the only one. There are reports buried deep in internet forums, dismissed as creepypasta, ignored by authorities of similar spaces in other stores. Different numbers, different locations, but always the same pattern. An area removed from official maps, disappearances, nearby corporate silence, and sealed records, employees who quit suddenly and refused to talk. There's a Walmart in Nebraska with an aisle 13 that doesn't exist. A store in Washington with a storage room that employees call the quiet place. A location in Texas where the loading dock has an extra door that supposedly leads nowhere. How many are there? How many people have walked into these spaces and never come back? And the bigger question, what are they? Were these liminal spaces always there, some kind of thin spot in reality that Walmart just happened to build over? Or did something about the stores themselves, the fluorescent lights, the endless aisles, the 24-hour cycle that divorces these places from normal time, create them? I don't have answers. Only questions and one piece of evidence that shouldn't exist. The final warning. If you're reading this, please listen carefully. If you ever find yourself in a large retail store, Walmart, Target, anywhere, and you see an aisle that feels wrong, that seems too dark or too quiet or too empty, don't investigate. Don't be curious. Don't think you'll be the exception. Just turn around and walk away. Because aisle 7 never existed. And neither will you if you go too far in. 3 months after our investigation, I received an anonymous email. No sender name. No subject line. Just a video attachment. It was security footage from Walmart number 4739. Timestamp 3:17 a.m. on July 11, 2023, the night we broke in. The footage showed the 4 of us entering aisle 7. Showed us walking deeper into that space. But it also showed something else. As we walked, that shadow figure was following us. Not behind us. It was everywhere. In every frame, standing in multiple locations at once. Sometimes at the end of the aisle. Sometimes right next to us. Sometimes standing exactly where we had just been standing a second before. The video was 47 minutes long. We were only in aisle 7 for 20 minutes. Where did those extra 27 minutes go? I deleted the email immediately. But sometimes late at night I wonder, did we really escape aisle 7? Or are we still there, walking in circles, leaving our own footprints in the dust, adding our own names to that wall, while some version of us out here thinks we got away? I don't look in mirrors anymore. Because sometimes, just for a second, I see that crooked yellow vest in the reflection behind me. And I know that eventually aisle 7 will call me back. It always does.